Welcome to the Odds Breakers, number one place for shared, sharp betting information.
Welcome back to Podcast 104 of 2024. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neil. You can follow me on Twitter at OPKiev. Follow us at the Oddsbreakers. Follow us on social media / the Oddsbreakers. This episode is being brought to you by MyBookie.ag for an up to $1,000 sign-up bonus. Please visit this podcast description. Click the link. Terms, conditions, and location apply. If you'd like to support the Oddsbreakers and benefit from our premium plays, please visit theoddsbreakers.com. Click shop and become a member. Pick any. For winning cappers, you get the premium plays before the line moves. You can also support us on patreon.com, but if nothing else, please visit the Oddsbreakers to become a free picks and Telegram subscriber. All right, we are here. Bowls are hot right now. Well, are they hot? The transfer portal's hot. That's what's hot. And if you get ahead some of the information, you're going to, be ahead of the game. I took a play on a quarterback sitting out, and in the lines in my favor, sent it to premium subscribers, told them to get it fast, and hopefully they did, because it took about 20 minutes for the line to move. But that's the advantage of paying attention, following the right places, reading the correct tea leaves, having Telegram. That's how you communicate with your folks. And always happy to do that, and hopefully, get some line value. I know line value hasn't been the greatest for us as of late, but in the long run, it works out. So we have a lot to talk about today. I'm actually going solo today because, well, there's still not quite bowl week yet. I know we have the Army-Navy game on Saturday, and one bowl game, which is kind of strange, on Saturday. Everything seems to be starting at a very strange time. So what my plan is to do is today cover the NFL, and then we're going to cover a heck of a lot of motivational spots. As a matter of fact, every single bowl game, we're going to talk about motivation, some coaching ATS. Huge shout out to my man from Bet-Sided, Reed Wallach, who puts out a College Bowl ATS article. So we're going to be using his information here. He talks about the coaches and the coaching ATS and their motivation, because a lot of times that's a tell on what these teams are going to do or feel like. Some teams use bowls as a vacation. Some teams use bowls as business. And also, I think it depends upon the location a little bit. So every single game, I prepared to talk about the motivation, the spread, the location, the time of the bowl, the TV network, as well as if you have a home field advantage. I did every single bowl game and playoff game. Believe it or not, there's some home field advantages in some playoffs. And, just talk about a little bit of the first game. I'm going to talk a little bit about Army-Navy. And then we're going to talk about the first bowl game this Saturday between South Alabama and Western Michigan. And then next week for Monday's show, we are going to talk about the NFL misleading final scores, NFL betting spots, good, bad, and the ugly. And then I'm actually going to get into some bowls for the week. I'm thinking I'm probably going to do Tuesday the 17th through Saturday-ish, probably Saturday the 21st, maybe even on Monday. I'm not sure. But what I'm trying to decide is when I'm going to have the Christmas episode. Christmas is very strange as it falls on a Wednesday, is usually the day we record. So maybe we do it on the 19th or the 20th, or we do it on Monday the 23rd. So I'm trying to figure out with a great guest and talk about these more important bowl games coming as of late, because the later bowl games are the bigger ones and definitely the ones more watched, including the college football playoffs. We already made some plays for our premium subscribers on the playoffs. We just gave one out in our last show, so keep that in mind. But before we get into college, we are talking NFL. And we will start out with the NFL ATS trends. Up top, Pittsburgh and Denver both at 10-3, covering machines. Then we go Chargers and Detroit at 9-4, Washington and Minnesota 8-4-1, And then lots of 8-5s here: Buffalo, Indianapolis, Philadelphia, Arizona, and Tampa Bay, all 8-5. Funny enough, Denver is playing Indianapolis, which I find interesting, and then Buffalo is fighting Detroit. What's going to give in these games? All right, the worst: Tennessee, 2-11. So they are absolutely gross. Thank God I didn't bet them last week. Then you got a bunch of 4-9 teams: the Jets, the Giants, the Dallas Cowboys, and Cleveland, which is pathetic. And then some 5-8s: Atlanta, Miami, Las Vegas, New Orleans, Kansas City, and San Francisco. San Francisco got the big cover against the Bears last week. Bears are strange. They're 6-5-2. You know, what are we going to get from the Bears this week? Let's talk about totals. And Baltimore, 10-3 to the over. 10 overs, 3 unders. That's massive. Carolina, 9-4. Washington, 9-4. Cincinnati, 9-4. Then Las Vegas, Tampa Bay, Denver, Buffalo, New England, and Dallas, all 8-5. Been a lot of overs this year. Now to the unders, your best unders teams. Giants, 4 overs, 9 unders. Same with the Chargers in Houston, 4 overs, 9 unders. Then you got 5-8 teams, 5 unders, 8 overs. Chicago, Philadelphia, Atlanta, and Minnesota. So those are your teams that really play to the under, really, in the NFL. So there you have it. But it's time now to discuss some NFL Week 15 plays. And we'll start right away with Thursday Night Football, the Rams at the Niners. This is kind of between a 2.5 and a 3. The Niners are a hard 3 at -3 plus 100. And the total is 49.5. So this game is so interesting. I mean, there's a great history on these teams. The last 4 games have all went over, but the total hasn't been quite this high. But both teams have bad defenses, as you saw last week with the Rams. You didn't see that with the Niners last week because the Bears absolutely stink. But the Niners might be getting back Nick Bosa, which would be huge for this team. Niners are trying to make a playoff push. Now, it's a division game, so I wouldn't exactly call it a letdown spot for the Rams after beating the Bills, but it's certainly not a great spot coming in. I think the Los Angeles Rams gave themselves an extra loss they can afford here to try to still get into the playoffs. You know, the Niners are much more of a desperate team. They lost to the Rams earlier and lots of tiebreakers. They lost to the Cardinals, the Rams, and the Seahawks. They have a ton of work to do. This game is much more important for San Francisco. Does that matter? Not all the time. You know, San Francisco still has injury woes. I should say they lost another running back, Isaac Guerrero. He probably won't play on Thursday. You know, they're going to be up to the scrap heap here, guys that's never played before. That brings more variance into this game. Their left tackle, Trent Williams, is questionable. You know, not like they needed him against the Bears. Malik Mustafa actually was limited, their safety. Dre Greenlaw, limited. There's a chance that Dre Greenlaw comes back and finally plays. And then Nick Bosa. There's just so much injury information on this that I'm not so sure about. I do think that this is a close game. So I think that the Rams are a great teaser leg this week to key in on. I don't see the Niners blowing anybody out the way they've been playing as of late. I will take both good coaches and grab the dog and tease it. So that'll be part of our teaser a little bit later. The Ravens versus the Giants. The Giants are plus 14.5. The total is 43. This is one hell of a low total to have a spread like 14.5. But what do the Giants have to not lose this game 24-7? You know, that is really what you're thinking. Can the Giants score over the top? Because the Baltimore Ravens still have one of the best run defenses, and they're coming off the bye. Probably ready to play a lot better than they have in some of these games that they're losing in these coin flip games. You know, I think that the Ravens are primed for a spot where they can just absolutely put somebody out. They're probably still feeling that loss at home against the Eagles. I am staying the hell away from this game. There's absolutely nothing I can do with it. I don't think Locke's a good quarterback over there. I know that the backup in DeVito is probably even worse than him. The Giants are in complete disarray. There could be some quit in them. Drew Lock is also even questionable. I'm done with the Giants, at least this week. Let's move on to the next game, the Commanders versus the Saints. The Saints are plus 7.5. The total is 43.5. What we're looking at for the Saints is the backup starting at quarterback, and that's why you're getting such a massive spread here. But Jake Haener is what we believe is going to happen, even though Derek Carr is questionable. He's still week to week, but they just did not list him as out yet. I guess Carr's also in the concussion protocol, so that doesn't bode well. Let's expect the backup to play, but it's going to be Jake Haener. I think Jake Haener's a little bit better than Spencer Rattler. I've seen enough Spencer Rattler, but the question is, I honestly have this game with the home field advantage, a small one, for the Saints, closer to pick 'em if this is the case, right? And if this quarterback is worth more than 6 points, I don't think it's Derek Carr being worth more than 6 points. Kingsbury's been bad down the stretch, and that's kind of what happens to him every single year. I think that I have Washington, let's just say -1 without the injury. I'm going to give them like 4 or 5 points, but I don't get to 7.5 for the downgrade from Derek Carr to Jake Haener. Now, you have to understand, they also lost other guys like Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed during the season, as well as, Taysom Hill. But Juwan Johnson seems to be just a fine running back. And the problem with the Washington Commanders is that they struggle to stop the run, right? If they're just not putting up a ton of points, they're very vulnerable. And that's why the Washington Commanders rank only 25th in opponent rush EPA. That's not good. And 24th in rush success rate. So if Kamara gets going for this team, he's going to be able to put up some yards, right? That's kind of what the handicap is in this game. The Saints need to slow it down. They need to run the ball, ranking 7th in rush EPA. And I think they can get there by doing that if they're not turning the ball over. 7.5 is too much. Let's grab the Saints. Hold your nose for 2 stars.
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
Next game, Chiefs-Browns. So we have a premium play on this one, so I'm going to stay away from it. But I will say, if you've read my tweets over the past week or so and listened to what I say about the Chiefs, you probably have an inclination on what side that we gave this out on. And it's one of my favorite plays, to be honest with you, for the week. Next game, the Bengals versus the Titans. Titans +5. Total is 46.5. How about the dagger being just thrust into a Monday Night Football again when the Cowboys, about to win the game from the punt block, all they needed is the field goal when it was tied, touches the ball and gives the ball right back to the Bengals. They drive down the field, get the 7 points.
Unreal.
I mean, I had Cowboys +5.5, but I'm sure there were some people with +6s or +6.5s. That was absolute painful. But going back to this game, I don't know what the hell I'm doing with this game. I don't know what I'm getting for the Titans. They couldn't even score in the Jaguars last week. The division game against the Jaguars, one of the worst teams in the NFL. One of the teams that probably you would have thought was giving up. What the heck am I supposed to do with this? I absolutely have no clue which way to go, and I'm extremely disappointed in the Bengals and the Titans this year. They're just 2 underachieving teams against each other. And it's not like the Bengals are bad. They're just poorly coached. But you also have 2 bad coaches against each other. I don't even see an angle you can trust from an EPA perspective. The total is 46.5 because the Titans have been going over until they did nothing last week and screwed my under. I'm staying away from this one. Dolphins, Texans minus 2.5, total 47. I can't think of a more perfect number for this. The Dolphins are still possibly in playoff contention, so they should be playing their asses off. They got lucky last week with that win against the Jets. But then again, the Texans have been overrated all year, but they're much better at home. A much better at home type of team, right? But the 2.5 is kind of telling you that it's almost the wrong side. Why is this 2.5? Why is this not 3? Is it because of Tyreek Hill? I from an algorithm, Miami has it. I have it Miami plus 2.265, but you have to understand that doesn't completely factor in how well they do with Tua and without Tua. If you're using the full season stats, recency stats also lean a little bit towards Miami too, but it's not like it blows it away because Miami's not been playing great ball. They haven't. Power rating perspective, I have these teams pretty close. I have Miami a little bit better, to be honest with you. I think there's a lot of problems with the Houston Texans. I'm staying the hell away from this, but Miami is probably a really good teaser leg this week as they can catch up to any team, really. I would put that as a teaser leg, even though I did not play it yet from a teaser perspective. Let's move on to the Jets versus the Jaguars. And this is another gross game, but unfortunately, the Sharps are going to try to hit the Jets again. They do it every single week. It was a misleading box score again last week for the Jets, especially with the overtime win. So even though lots of them lost, they will probably bet the Jets again, but I just have to go back to my rule. My rule is when two crap teams play each other, these are basically coachless teams. I would argue that the Jaguars actually somewhat have a coach. Now, the Jaguars don't have a good quarterback in Mac Jones, but he's serviceable. You take the dog. You take the dog when two bad teams play each other. It's just the way it goes. Now, the Jets, if you look from a talent perspective, they should be kicking people's ass. But how trustable are the Jets? They're not that trustable at all because they are one of the worst covering teams in the land. As a matter of fact, I believe that they cover a lot less than even the Jaguars did this year. 4-9 against the spread. 4-9. While the Jaguars are actually 7-5-1. So at least they can kind of come up and cover some spreads. They have talent, but it's just kind of scattered. Yeah, I like this play. Jaguars plus 3.5 is the play for 2 stars. Cowboys-Panthers, another gross game, although the Panthers are playing much better lately. That's why they are favorites against the Cowboys. The market is actually saying that the Panthers are better than the Cowboys because nobody's giving the Panthers 3 points for home field advantage or 2.5, maybe 1.5. That's what it should be. So this market is really saying the Panthers are a little bit better. I'm not so sure about that. I think I have the Cowboys a little bit better, but is it so much to make a play on it? Probably not. Premium members may be getting a teaser on this one. So this is definitely another very teasable game, in my opinion. But it isn't going to be part of the one that we're giving out today. Move on to the Colts versus the Broncos. Broncos minus 3.5. It's 4 in some books. The total is 44. Now, I know there's some people on the Colts, and that's why this number has went down a little bit, but I am calling BS on that. I am going with the coach and Sean Payton because I'm not so sure that Shane Steichen is a great coach yet. And he's still working with Anthony Richardson. The problem with Anthony Richardson and this Colts team is they cannot run the ball well. From an EPA perspective, they're actually equal pretty much to Denver. It's very interesting to see that. It's something I wouldn't have guessed. I would have expected from an EPA perspective. Sometimes EPA sniffs out frauds, right? So I was like, wow, this Colts team is very close to the Denver Broncos from an EPA perspective. It is the Colts ranking number 25th in EPA, and Denver only 19th. You get a slight edge to Denver for that. But the big thing for it is the defense. The defense, rush EPA, the Denver Broncos rank 6th, and dropback EPA, the Denver Broncos are number 1. How is that good for playing catch up if they're number 1? With an Anthony Richardson team. This is not Joe Flacco working his magic like he did before. Now, if he came in, I'd be nervous because that's what Flacco does. He just ruins bets, But a team that's ranking 22nd in dropback EPA, probably worse with just Anthony Richardson stats if you take away some of those good Flacco games. And a team that can't run the ball, ranking 20th in rush EPA, even with a running quarterback. I just don't see how they can keep up with Denver. Another thing you like about Denver is that they're coming off the bye. I get the Denver's power rated by 5 points, and the algorithm says a heck of a lot more. I like the Broncos minus 3.5 for 2.5 stars.
I'm sorry that people are so jealous of me, but I can't help it that I'm popular.
The next game, the Patriots versus the Cardinals. Cardinals minus 5.5. Total 45.5. Cardinals have been on a slide. This just kind of feels like a slump buster for them, but at the same time, the Patriots are still motivated this year. They expected a bad season. Nobody said that they're going to be good. So I can still see them putting up an effort here. It's a perfect spread, in my opinion. But I also think that Arizona is probably a good teaser piece. I'm sorry, I mean a parlay piece. I'm considering parlaying them. I'm considering doing it with another one to make it plus money. I haven't given out anything yet, but you're looking at a minus 230 here. If you did it with like the Chargers, you'd have a plus 140 going on there. Chargers and Cardinals just have to win. I kind of like doing stuff like that. And I think there's a shot that, you have a shot at winning this. So I'm thinking teaser moneyline parlay is much better than the teaser. Let's move on to the next game, the Steelers versus the Eagles. And the Eagles are a team that's okay with winning by small amounts. They can also win by large amounts. The Steelers' defense has been fantastic this year. The Eagles, they struggled a little bit last week, but it was more of a flat spot, so I'll give that to them. But I don't think they should be laying 5 points against the Steelers. I think the Steelers are a legit team this year. They're a very legit team, and I would say that Tomlin is probably going to get the edge for me in coaching over Nick Sirianni. Last time I checked, TJ Watt is still playing. TJ Watt is still healthy. And as a matter of fact, this Steelers defense is very healthy. They only lost C.J. Henderson at corner. I mean, that's the main guy. I guess Larry Ogunjobi is questionable and George Pickens at receiver, but I can see Mike Williams stepping it up and possibly getting back into this game. What do the Eagles think about themselves after last week? They probably knew that they were kind of being lazy, but they don't have Dallas Goedert. That seemed to affect them a little bit this week or last week. Obviously Saquon Barkley is such a big stud, but this Eagles team is completely fine with only winning by 2, 3, 4 points. They're fine with running out the clock. My algorithm does not have this as this big of a spread here. 3.25 on that perspective. Power rating perspective, I give the Eagles 1 point for home field advantage. That gets me to 3. They are 1.5 points better than the Steelers, in my opinion. So I like this play, and this is a play I take. I think it's a close game. Hell, Steelers can possibly win it. Maybe it's the Steelers leading by the end of this game, and it's the Eagles that need to backdoor it. Steelers' offense has been good. Steelers plus 5 for 2.5 stars. The next game is the Bills versus the Lions, and I feel like Lions being minus 2.5 with a total of 54.5. This total was like 51.5, 52 earlier in the week, and it went up. I'm not so sure about that, even though my algorithm spits it out at about 55.3. I think that the way you win this game is kind of like what the Lions did the Packers last time they played, which is, last Thursday. So they're getting a little extra rest over the Bills. You control the clock. The Bills don't want to get in a shootout really at all times. They were in it last week and lost. I think both teams kind of want to control the clock a little bit. What's the use of getting ahead when you're just giving the other team a bunch of time to get ahead? It's almost like you want to just always keep the other defense tired, kind of like the little strategic game. Now, do these coaches think about that? I don't know. Dan Campbell's gotten better, It's getting high. I think this keeps going high. If this gets to 56 and a half, I could see myself playing on the under, but the best play is the teaser leg because I don't see the Bills losing by 3 points or more to anybody in the NFL. They're going to be in this game no matter what. Yeah, I think this is going to be a fun teaser because we're making it a primetime game. This is the first time that we've done this in a while. A Thursday night teaser, taking the Rams all the way up to plus 8.5, we'll call it. And then obviously taking the Bills up to 8.5. That's going to be a refuse to lose teaser here. And I think it has a hell of a shot of winning. Tampa Bay Bucks, LA Chargers. Chargers -3, total 45.5. This is kind of a perfect number as the Bucks are so banged up and their secondary, but the Chargers are still banged up at receiver. I don't know if Ladd McConkey's going to play. I think that news might slightly move this line, whether it be juice or whatever. It's also the Will Dissly injury that happened last week, too, that screwed up a small prop of mine as well. Will Dissly expected to miss a couple of weeks, they say, and, Ladd McConkey's just the big question here. He's sitting there at questionable. Denzel Perriman is still questionable at linebacker, but they at least have Junior Colson back. Justin Herbert is kind of banged up himself. He kind of, in that big old leg contusion and wearing massive braces and tape on his ankles. He's not the most mobile quarterback anymore, that's for sure. Problem with Tampa Bay is they're all offense and no defense. They could really come back and backdoor these things. If Ladd McConkey's in, 2.5 is probably the play. But right now I'm cool with just waiting it out or not doing anything whatsoever. Packers Seahawks. This is such a stay away. I was so tempted to take the 3, and a lot of sharps are on the 3. It's just such a bad spot for the Seahawks. Total's 45.5. They get to 8-5. They beat the Cardinals. They're in driver's seat to win this division. Beat the Cardinals twice. They're ahead of both the Rams and the Niners. But it's just coming off all those games, coming back home, a little relaxed while the Packers have extra time and extra rest against a game that they're just pissy about because they could have beat Detroit if they stopped the first down. It's a great spot for the Packers, but my numbers don't say it. My numbers say bet Seattle by a little bit. I think I have the Packers slightly better than Seattle. I have the Packers actually about 2 points better. So this is freaking. It's in nowhere land. This is probably the biggest game I want to stay away from besides the Giants and the Ravens. So moving on to Monday Night Football. Get gross with the Minnesota Vikings laying 6.5 against the Bears, total 43.5. I don't know what the hell the Bears can be thinking at this point. They get the coach fired and then the team sucks. It's like when your coach is fired and then you suck, you become a big part of the problem. What does that do to motivate them? I think this team is so out of place right now. I mean, I have Minnesota -9, but it's also a spot with Minnesota that, when are they going to slow down a little bit? Second division game, you always look towards the dog. You always look towards the dog in that situation. If you remember, the Bears blew it against the Vikings. Should have beat the Vikings a few games back. 30-27 they lost. Completely whiffed it, And just kind of like they did against the Packers, they screwed up against the Vikings, then they screw up against. This was all coaching in Eberflus, but they also don't have a coach. So how does the next guy get to not screw this up? They're also at home when they lost the Vikings 30-27. So that's why you're getting a 6.5 here. Perfect teaser leg, really, for the Vikings, if you ask me. Get it down to 0.5. I think this goes to 7. So we'll tease that. I would tease that down. And in the last game, the Falcons versus the Raiders, I don't know what the hell's going on there with Kirk Cousins. And it's a perfect slump buster spot for the Falcons. But is Aiden O'Connell going to play? I mean, giving the Falcons past 3 points against anybody is always a little bit worrisome. I think the Raiders, believe it or not, are somewhat motivated. I think the Raiders might want to win this game. Zamir White is on IR. But, God, man, Sincere McCormick's been a great running back for them. I wouldn't doubt if he becomes a starter next year. Alexander Madison's questionable. Nate Hobbs is questionable. Aiden O'Connell's got the bone bruise. So, we're going to find out more today, which is Wednesday, and tomorrow when you get this podcast about Aiden O'Connell. But, I mean, I suppose the spread goes up if O'Connell's out. It's not like he's that much better than Desmond Ridder. It's a stay-away game for me. It's total stay away. I have the Falcons, if they are perfect, probably -6 with the Raiders' injuries there. I downgrade the Raiders a few points due to the O'Connell issue. So, yeah, I mean, it should be maybe -3.5 or -3 if O'Connell was healthy. And if he's not healthy, -4 seems like a pretty perfect spread to me. So, no opinion, and the total's obviously affected too at 44 if O'Connell plays or not as well. So now it's time for our refuse to lose teaser, as you know, and we're taking the Rams and the Bills both up to plus 8.5. This is a no-brainer teaser, in my opinion. Both teams in interesting spots. The Rams coming off a big win, but playing their rival in the Niners, and then you have the Bills coming off the ugly loss. It's so funny. I'm taking both of these teams that played last week. And teasing them both. Bills need to win. They have to win if they want to not play in Kansas City in the playoffs. I don't like the Bills in Kansas City during the playoffs. I'm sorry. I just don't like that. It's not fun for the Bills. So they got to win this game. I see motivation on both sides. I think it's a great refuse to lose teaser with 2.5 stars.
My mother warned me about getting into cars with strange men.
This isn't a car.
10-4 in refuse to lose teasers. So hopefully let's keep trucking. We finished 11-7 last year and something like that the year before. Teasers have been just absolutely amazing on this podcast. All right. Well, here we are. Let's talk some college football. All right. Now it's time for some college football bowl previews. We're looking at motivation. We're looking at what the current odds are, which is switching very quickly. We're looking at the time of the game, the date of the game, the location of the game, the network. We're also looking at home field advantage. So this is all speculation, really. I could say someone's 50 miles from home, like North Texas, and maybe they don't even show up. I can just give you what my thoughts are and what the market should be, and maybe you can find some edges here on these bowl games. We do all of them, including the playoffs here, because there is some home field advantage implications in the playoffs. And if you disagree with me, you can always message me at the Oddsbreakers at OB Kiev, or just correct us if I'm wrong. I'm wrong sometimes. I admit it. And I would like you to correct me because I need to understand things when I'm handicapping as well. It just helps me out when I find out something I'm missing. So please do that. Want to let you know that, these college bowl games, so I say this every year. I mean, it's based off motivation. It's based off coaching motivation, coaches, the player motivation, home field proximity. Player retention is massive because of the transfer portal and people actually opting out for the draft. Some people in the transfer portal will actually still play their game. Yeah, especially if they're going to a big school. They might be like, hey, guys, we're going to play. I'm going to play for you even though I'm leaving just because I care about you guys and stuff like that, which is probably a stupid move by then because they could get themselves hurt. So, I don't know exactly what these kids are going to do. I don't even know everybody that's going to be transferring at this point. All I can do is predict motivation and kind of get into these games. And then obviously we'll talk about Army-Navy at the end and then the very first college bowl game on December 14th in the Veterans IS4S salute to the Veterans Bowl, South Alabama versus Western Michigan. So we'll talk about that a little bit as well. So, I mean, starting with the playoffs, because that's what you want to hear most, right, is the college football playoffs. We're going to talk about the location and home field advantage. It's Indiana versus Notre Dame. Notre Dame laying 8 points. Total is 50.5. Notre Dame Stadium, South Bend, Indiana, 8 p.m. on ABC/ESPN. Everybody's motivated. Home field is Notre Dame because they're playing at home. But I'm only giving them 2.5 points as Indiana is also in the state, and some Hoosiers may show up. Going to be pretty Notre Dame home, but I can see Indiana showing up a little bit as well. So Notre Dame, I think 2.5 is fair. Moving on to Saturday, December 21st, SMU versus Penn State. Penn State minus 8.5. Total 53.5 at Beaver Stadium. It's State College. Noon and TNT. Everybody's motivated. We're giving Penn State 3.5 for home field advantage. Now, thank God it's not a whiteout because I would go 5 to 5.5 if that was the case. But Penn State has one of the best home field advantages in all of the land, and I do not see a reason not to give them the full 3.5, especially because they are a cold weather team in colder weather, while SMU is coming up from Texas. So that is another thing to think about as well. Number 12, Clemson versus number 5, Texas. Texas minus 11. Total is 51 at Darrell K. Royal Texas Memorial Stadium in Austin, Texas. Time, 4 p.m. Network is on TNT. Home is Texas. They're at home. So Texas minus 3. Maybe a slight little bit more than that, but I think minus 3 is fair here against Clemson. You're going to get a few Clemson people there, and Dabo Swinney is going to have his kids motivated as well. Tennessee versus Ohio State. Ohio State minus 7.5, total 47. Ohio Stadium in Columbus, Ohio, 8 p.m. on ESPN, and everybody's motivated. Ohio State gets a 3-point home field advantage at home. They haven't had the greatest home field advantage, I think. But maybe in this situation, being against Tennessee and the spread's a little bit smaller, maybe you give them a bump there. 3 points is fair for now for me. Now, moving to Tuesday, December 31st, which is the quarterfinal game. It's going to be SMU or Penn State versus number 3, Boise State at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. My backyard, 7:30 p.m. TV network is ESPN. There's no home field advantage for either team. They will both travel, including Boise State fans. Maybe every single one of them that went to Boise State. Wednesday, January 1st, quarterfinal. Clemson or Texas versus number 4, Arizona State, located Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. Time is 1 p.m. on ESPN. Everybody's motivated. Clemson or Texas is getting 2 points. This is SEC and ACC country. Sucks for Arizona State that they're not in the Fiesta Bowl here. Been a lot better for them. They might have actually gotten a couple points or a 1.5 or something like that. But no, Clemson or Texas is getting at least 2 points. I do have a buddy that's going to this game. I considered it myself. I'm not sure if I can make it work, but this is going to be a great New Year's Day game. Quarterfinal at the Rose Bowl, presented by Prudential, Tennessee or Ohio State versus number 1, Oregon. Location is Rose Bowl, Pasadena, California. Time 5 p.m. on ESPN. Everybody's motivated. Home is none. Tennessee fans they're going to want to go there. Tennessee fans are probably more excited about this than anything else. They probably assume they're going to lose, but why not go to the Rose Bowl? It's a great opportunity. And the fact that it's probably their first Rose Bowl is more reason for them to show up. So I think you're going to get kind of equal. No home field advantage here. Quarterfinal at the All-State Sugar Bowl. Indiana or Notre Dame versus number 2, Georgia. Caesars Superdome in New Orleans. 8:45 p.m. TV network is ESPN. Everybody's motivated, but here's the deal. If it's Notre Dame, I'm going to give Georgia a 0.5 home field advantage, being that you're down south in SEC country. But it's -2 if it's against Indiana, and it might even be more than that. So I'm concerned for Indiana fans here coming on down if they can beat Notre Dame. So first they have a big if going on in that situation. Thursday, January 9th, college football semifinal at the Orange Bowl at Hard Rock Stadium, 7:30 p.m., January 9th, ESPN. Everyone's motivated. If it's Georgia, they're getting a 1.5. I mean, this is in Florida. This is more Georgia fans, a lot more Georgia fans. And, we'll see what they get. But, I mean, there's a very good chance that it's going to be Georgia and they're going to get some serious home field advantage. Now, the thing is can Georgia, possibly beat, their guys at Notre Dame? And I'm guessing it's Notre Dame. But only if it's Georgia, I'm assigning a 1.5 home field advantage. And Friday, the other semifinal at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, in the Cotton Bowl Classic, January 10th, ESPN, 7:30 p.m. If it's Texas, 1.5. You got to give them 1.5 in Arlington. How do you not? Even if it's split, how do you not? The problem with these semifinals is that it's really hard to figure this out. I don't even think the tickets are going to be all that expensive. If you're a fan and you're going to pick either going the weekend of January 9th, January 10th, or January 20th for the national championship, you're probably going to hope that your team gets the national championship. It's like, I just saw them win a semifinal game. Doesn't have the luster as a national championship. So I'm really curious how these two games are going to do via fans. I know TV is going to be amazing, but geez, it's real interesting to me. But here's the final game. The national championship on January 20th on a Monday, 7:30 p.m. on ESPN. Everybody's motivated. But geez, if this is Georgia at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, you got to give them the full 3 points, maybe even more. Georgia kills it there. If it's Texas or Tennessee, you got to give them 1.5 points. This is SEC country. I mean, if it's Clemson, I might give them a half a point as well. But the rest could really be a push. I think that, anyone not SEC or ACC, and the rest would be a complete push because I do see Boise State fans there. Maybe Notre Dame gets a few more fans. I don't know. Ohio State's going to come in droves. This is something you have to really handicap when this opportunity comes up. So we'll see what happens by January 20th. Now, starting with the complete bowl schedule, Saturday, December 14th, the Salute to the Veterans Bowl, South Alabama versus Western Michigan plus 8.5. Total is 59. The location is at the Crampton Bowl, Montgomery, Alabama. Time is 9 p.m. TV network is ESPN. South Alabama's motivation is medium low. They stay in the state, but Major Albright is only 0-3 ATS in bowl games. Plus, we don't know if Gio Lopez is playing or not. It's all over the board. It's kind of moving up and down. I'm worried if he's not playing. Western Michigan can play tough at times, but their motivation will be medium. They're going to want to win, but they're also going to take this opportunity to vacation a little bit in Alabama. So I'm just going to say straight medium. Home field advantage, University of South Alabama is only 172 miles away. So I'm going to give them 2 points for home field advantage here. That is going to fill up the stadium with more of them than Ohio fans or Western Michigan fans. Tuesday, December 17th, the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl, Memphis versus West Virginia plus 2.5, total 56.5 at Toyota Stadium in Frisco, Texas, 9 p.m. on ESPN. Memphis's motivation's high. This team gets to beat a bigger conference. West Virginia's motivation, medium low. The Mountaineers fired coach Neil Brown, and I can't imagine there's too much motivation there. No home field advantage. The Boca Raton Bowl on December 18th, Western Kentucky versus James Madison. James Madison minus 8, total 53.5. Location FAU Stadium in Boca Raton. Unfortunately, it's not FAU playing this game. Time at 5:30, TV network ESPN. Western Kentucky's motivations medium high. Tyson Helton is a nice 3-1 ATS in bowl games, but they lost their quarterback to transfer. Lots of transfers for Western Kentucky. And James Madison's motivations medium high. JMU will want to win the game, but they also lost their quarterback in Alonzo Barnett III to injury. No home field advantage here. Art of Sport LA Bowl, Cal versus UNLV at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California at 9 p.m. on ESPN. Cal's motivations medium. Cal will want to win this game to save embarrassment from losing to UNLV. And UNLV's motivation is low. Barry Odom's gone. He is going to Purdue. And their playoff hopes were just crushed from them a week ago. So forget that, man. I think that UNLV's motivation is quite low in this game. And Cal may get also 1.5 points of home field advantage. Even though San Francisco is farther away, it's still the home state here. There's plenty of Cal grads around there. Maybe some UNLV, but no, you give Cal 1.5 home field advantage for being in their state. Thursday, December 19th. The R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl, Georgia Southern versus Sam Houston. Sam Houston plus 6.5. Total is 47. Location in Caesar Superdome, New Orleans, 7 p.m. ESPN2. Georgia Southern's motivation's low. Clay Helton's only 1-6 in bowl games. I'm very concerned that they care about beating a lesser team. But Sam Houston, their motivation's medium high. Sam Houston had a very good second season in the FBS, yet many are in the transfer portal. So that's why it's not high. It's medium high. Home slate for Sam Houston and 0.5 points for that, 350 miles away from New Orleans. Friday, December 20th, the Staff DNA Cure Bowl, Ohio versus Jacksonville State. Jacksonville State is +2. Total is 54.5. Camping World Stadium, Orlando, Florida. They host a lot of bowls there. Time is noon. TV network ESPN. Ohio's motivation's medium low. This team won their conference. It's time to party in Florida. Jacksonville State's motivation is low. Gamecocks also won their conference, but Rich Rodriguez only 2-10 in bowl games, and he may have 1 foot out the door. So there you go. No home field, as Ohio folks will want a vacation and travel down there as well. Next, we have Friday, December 20th. We have the Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl. Tulane versus Florida. Florida -12, total 50.5 in Raymond James Stadium in Tampa Bay. Time is 3:30 p.m. on ESPN. Tulane's motivation's medium high. They want to get to play the SEC. Yes, they lost their quarterback, Darian Mensah, to transfer to Duke, so that's not great. But Florida's motivation should be medium low. Beating Tulane doesn't really help much, yet they are at least in their state. Billy Napier, 0-4 ATS in bowl games. Florida does, though, get 3 points of home field advantage, as they're only 134 miles away as a drive to Tampa, so they should all be there. Monday, December 23rd, the Myrtle Beach Coastal Carolina versus UTSA. Myrtle Beach Bowl, UTSA -7.5, total 57. Location, Brooks Stadium, Conway, South Carolina. Time 11 a.m. on ESPN. Coastal Carolina's motivation's medium high. They will want to finish off their season with a big win, but UTSA's motivation is medium. UTSA has turned it up at the end to make a bowl game, but will they care to win it? I don't know. This is literally a home game for Coastal Carolina in their home stadium, so I'm going to key on that one. Famous Idaho Potato Bowl, Northern Illinois versus Fresno State. Fresno State +3. Total is 42. Location, Albertson Stadium in Boise, Idaho. Time is at 2:30 p.m. TV network is ESPN. Oh, man. These poor teams. Northern Illinois' motivation is medium. Just not a good reward to go to Boise. I mean, this team might want to join the Mountain West Conference, though, so I do see them as a medium-motivated team, although quarterback Ethan Hampton is in the transfer portal. Now, Fresno State's motivation is medium-low. They have to go through the cruel and unusual punishment and having to play their bowl game within a cold in-conference stadium like Boise State. I mean, brutal. This place is so bad that both quarterbacks, Ethan Hampton and Mikey Keene, are in the transfer portal, literally because of this bowl game.
Last week, Japanese scientists placed explosive detonators at the bottom of Lake Loch Ness to blow Nessie out of the water.
Tuesday, December 24th, we're looking at the Hawaii Bowl, South Florida versus San Jose State. San Jose State -3. Total is 57. This is at Clarence T.C. Ching Athletics Complex in Honolulu. Time is at 8 p.m. TV network is ESPN. South Florida's motivation is medium. Maybe even medium-low. These kids should have some fun in Hawaii. And why not, you know? You earned it. Go out there and have some fun. Now, San Jose State's motivation is medium-high. This team travels to Hawaii often in their conference, and Kenny Nuimatalolo is 7-4 ATS in bowl games. It's pretty good. I don't think, for a home field advantage, I don't think there's going to be a big crowd from either, but I see a small 1-point advantage for San Jose State, being that they're in California. You know, it's pretty common flight out there from California over the large pond. I guess you call that the lake. Pacific's the lake. Maybe the Atlantic's the pond, right? So that's how I see this one. Thursday, December 26th, the game above Sports Bowl, Pittsburgh versus Toledo. Toledo +9.5, total 51.5 in Ford Field, Detroit. 2 p.m. TV network is on ESPN. Pittsburgh's motivation is medium-low. From playoffs to Detroit, brutal. Pat Narduzzi is 2-4 ATS in bowl games. Toledo's motivation, medium low. Terrible bowl for them, but at least they get to play a Power 4 team. Yet Jason Candle, only 1-6 ATS in bowl games. I'm noticing a lot of these coaches that are either really bad ATS or good ATS are all faced off against each other, so we're not getting a huge advantage there. ATS, there might be a few of them, but not many. But man, what a brutal bowl for both of these teams. But home field, Toledo's only 58 miles from Detroit. I mean, I don't see a ton of Pittsburgh fans traveling to Detroit in the winter. I'm going to say 1.5 points for the Rockets, but this stadium might not even be full. I'm thinking it's going to be pretty empty. The Rate Bowl. Not sure why it's not guaranteed rate, but I guess it's the Rate Bowl. Rutgers versus Kansas State. Kansas State -7. Total is 51. Location, Chase Field in Phoenix. Time is 5:30 p.m. TV network, ESPN. Rutgers motivation is high. This team doesn't bowl often, and Greg Schiano is 6-2 ATS in bowl games, and Kansas State's motivation is low. This is a big discrepancy, in my opinion, because this team was close to winning the Big 12 or getting to the Big 12 championship game at the end of the season. I mean, crushing to just play Rutgers at Chase Field, and it's kind of a vacation spot, I think. So come down to Phoenix and have some fun. No home field advantage. 68 Ventures Bowl, Arkansas State versus Bowling Green. Bowling Green -7, totals 51. Location is Hancock Whitney Stadium in Mobile, Alabama. Time is at 9 p.m. Network is ESPN. Arkansas State's motivation is medium high. Good old Butch Jones is very good at bowl games. 6-2 ATS in bowl games. Bowling Green's motivation is just medium. Not a great opponent yet. Sky Loeffler is only 0-2 against the spread in bowl games. Home, none, as Arkansas State is still over 450 miles away from Hancock Whitney Stadium in Mobile, Alabama. Friday, December 27th, the Direct TV Holiday Bowl, Syracuse versus Washington State. Washington State is +6.5. The total is 61.5. Location is at Snapdragon Stadium in San Diego, California. The time's at 8 p.m. TV networks at Fox. Syracuse's motivation is medium. Fun place to visit, and this team is at least gets to beat a former Power 5 team, and Washington State's motivation is medium high. They're going to want to beat another Power 4 school in the situation. Home field is none. Birmingham Bowl, Georgia Tech versus Vandy. Vandy +2.5, total 51.5. Locations at Protective Stadium in Birmingham, Alabama. Time is 3:30 p.m. TV network ESPN. Georgia Tech's motivation's high. They love playing SEC teams. Vanderbilt's motivation's high. Not too far to travel. And Pavia's last year could go out with a W. Now, both locations are under 200 miles away. All right. Georgia Tech's a little closer. I like Georgia Tech a little bit still in this game, but that's my thoughts. I think, both home field, both high motivation. This should be a fun game to watch. Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl. You have Oklahoma versus Navy. Navy +8.5, total 45. Amon Carter Stadium in Fort Worth, Texas. 3 p.m. TV network ESPN. Oklahoma's motivation's medium low. This team had their big win, and they're building for next year. Navy's motivation's high. Why not get one more shot at a big-name team? Home is big for Oklahoma, as Norman's only 183 miles away. Give the Sooners a full 3 points. I know that it's a military bowl and all that, armed forces, but I don't know, man. Let's say 2.5 points to be safe. I think Oklahoma's going to have a home field advantage here. AutoZone Liberty Bowl, Texas Tech versus Arkansas. Arkansas -2.5, and the total is 60.5 at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium in Memphis, Tennessee, 7 p.m. on ESPN. Texas Tech's motivation is medium high as they get to beat an SEC team, and Arkansas's motivation is medium low. Lots of kids in the transfer portal, so I am concerned about that. Arkansas is only 310 miles away, so give them 1.5 points for home field advantage, as that's an easy trek to make. Get it done in the morning. The SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl. Texas A&M versus USC. USC +3, total 52. This is at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Time is at 10:30 p.m. TV network is ESPN. Now, Texas A&M's motivation's medium. Good to play a team like USC. And USC's motivation's medium. I would even say medium high, because they get another chance to beat an SEC team in Vegas. They're just there. It's almost like gives them a little extra for home. But speaking of home, USC's much closer, 275 miles away, but I do see a lot of A&M guys in Vegas too. So it's probably 0.5 points for home field advantage, but for USC, it's somewhere between 0.5 and 1 in my opinion. Saturday, December 28th. There is a lot of games. There's like 8 bowl games on December 28th. The Wasabi Fenway Bowl, UConn versus North Carolina. North Carolina -5, total 55 actually is the total. Location Fenway Park in Boston, time 11 a.m. Network ESPN. UConn's motivation is high. They all business, baby. Get to beat a Power 5 team. North Carolina's motivation is low. Lots of distractions with Bill Belichick and the head coach hiring. I don't trust them at all. Home is UConn. They get 3 points with only 131 miles, I should say, to Boston. And, looking for UConn here. Bad Boy Mowers, Pinstripe Bowl, Boston College versus Nebraska. Nebraska -3, total 45.5. Location in Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, New York. Time is noon. TV network ABC. Boston College's motivation is medium. They get to play a Big Ten team, yet not a great one, and Nebraska's motivation's high. When was the last time the Cornheads got to play in a bowl game? It's been a while, so they're going to want to win. Home is Boston College, gets 1 point for being only 200 miles away, but Nebraska fans have been dying to get to a bowl game, so I expect a lot of them as well. The Isleta, New Mexico Bowl, Louisiana versus TCU. TCU -12.5, total 59.5 at University Stadium in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Time 2:15 p.m. TV network, ESPN. Louisiana's motivation is medium. They get to play a Big 12 school, but TCU's motivation, medium low. It's a poor destination for this team. This is Albuquerque. This place makes Milwaukee looks like Las Vegas. Sorry if I'm disrespecting any Albuquerque folks out there, but I'm sure that you don't like your city either. I think that this should be called the Breaking Bad Bowl. And there's really no home field advantages. I just can't imagine that any school wants to travel out to Albuquerque.
Where's my money, bitch?
The Pop-Tarts Bowl, Iowa State versus Miami. And Miami's -3.5, total 55. This has been all over the place, this one. It's all about Cam Ward. Camping World Stadium in Orlando, Florida. Time 3:30 p.m. TV network ABC. Iowa State's motivations medium low. They lost their shot at the playoffs, but they at least get to play Miami. Matt Campbell, 3-6 ATS in bowl games. So he's usually been a loser, but Miami's motivation is also low. Very low. Miami was a top 4 seed a few weeks ago. At least Cam Ward still might play. But Mario Cristobal's 2-5-1 ATS in bowl games. So both of these coaches are bowl losers. Miami does get 2 points for home field for being only 234 miles away and in the same state as Camping World Stadium in Orlando, Florida. Snoop Dogg, Arizona Bowl, Miami, Ohio versus Colorado State. Colorado State plus 2.5. Total is 43.5. That's a pretty low total in these bowl games, but Arizona Stadium in Tucson, Arizona, 4:30 p.m. and the CW network. Snoop Dogg on the CW. Never knew that Snoop Dogg was have his own bowl, but he's kind of starting at the bottom of the barrel here, being that it's Miami of Ohio and Colorado State. The motivation for both of these teams I have is medium low. For Miami, Ohio, they almost won the MAC, but this is, I guess, still a weather upgrade over Ohio, but Chuck Martin is a nice 5-0 ATS in bowl games, but Colorado State's motivation is medium low. This bowl feels like punishment. Playing in Tombstone would be better next to Wyatt Earp's grave. But Chuck Markson, also great at 5-0 ATS in bowl games. Also, there should not be a home field advantage in the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl.
That's what's up.
All right, next we have Goal Bowling Military Bowl, East Carolina versus NC State. NC State -5. Total is 58. Location is Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium in Annapolis, Maryland. Time is at 5:45 p.m. TV network is ESPN. East Carolina's motivation is medium high. Why not beat a Power 4 school? And NC State's motivation is medium low. Not a great opponent and not a great destination, but maybe they try some. It's in Annapolis. I think it's probably a pretty cool place. I don't think there's a home field advantage at all. I don't think a lot of people show up to this game. The Valera Alamo Bowl, BYU versus Colorado. Colorado -3, total 54.5. Location at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio. Time 7:30 p.m. TV network ABC. The same thing, ABC, ESPN. BYU's motivation, medium low. They blew off their playoff chances at the end of the season, but Colorado's motivation is medium high. I mean, this is Deion, baby. He's got his kids excited for this game. It's his first bowl game and the first bowl game for these kids in years. I think this is going to be pretty big for Colorado, believe it or not. And everyone's hate for Deion is wrong. I think that Deion turned out to be a pretty fine coach. No home field advantage in San Antonio for either of these teams. Let's move on to the Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl. Marshall versus Army. Army -14, total 48. Location, Independence Stadium in Shreveport, Louisiana. Time 9:15 p.m. on ESPN. Marshall's motivation's medium. Not a great bowl game, but why not beat Army? And Army's motivation's high. Jeff Monken always gets his team up at 4-1 ATS in bowl games. No home field advantage. And shout out to Reed Wallach once again for giving us these 4-1 numbers here on Army and all these bowl games for the coaches. You can check out his article that I retweeted at the Oddsbreakers. Monday, December 30th. TransPerfect Music City Bowl, Iowa versus Missouri. Missouri -3, total is 40. Located at Nissan Stadium in Nashville, Nash Vegas in Tennessee. Time at 2:30 p.m. TV network is ESPN. Iowa's motivation's high. Kirk Ferentz, 12-7-1 ATS in bowl games, and Missouri's motivation's high. Eli Drinkwitz, 3-0 in bowl games. Both these teams will want to beat each other. Home is nothing, but Missouri's a little closer, but Iowa fans travel very well. So I just wanted to say about the home. Tuesday, December 31st, ReliQuest Bowl, Alabama versus Michigan. Michigan +10, total is 43. Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida is the location at noon on ESPN. Alabama's motivation is high. That's kind of surprising. I missed the playoffs and high. Well, some folks might not remember that this is a massive revenge spot from last year's playoffs where Michigan beat Alabama. And Michigan's motivation's medium-low. Michigan beat Ohio State. That's fine. That's all they wanted to do with the rest of this season. They might not care about beating Alabama too much. Maybe they show up, maybe they don't. Home field, none. Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl, Louisville versus Washington. Washington +5.5, totals 52. Location at Sun Bowl Stadium in El Paso, Texas. Time at 2 p.m. The TV network CBS. Louisville's motivation's medium. Bad locations, but it's a business trip, and Washington's motivation medium. Also just a bad location. And no home field advantage for these two teams having to go to El Paso, Texas. I drove through El Paso this year, and yeah. Cheez-It Citrus Bowl, South Carolina versus Illinois. Illinois +11. Total is 75. The location's Camping World Stadium in Orlando, Florida. Time is 3 p.m. TV networks ABC. South Carolina's motivation's medium. Business and pleasure. Why not? Illinois' motivation's medium. Knowing Brett Bielema, it's going to be more pleasure than business. Home field, small 1-point advantage for South Carolina, playing only 425 miles away from Orlando, Florida. The Kinders Texas Bowl, Baylor versus LSU. LSU -1.5, total is 59.5. NRG Stadium in Houston, Texas. Time is at 3:30 p.m. TV networks ESPN. Baylor's motivation's high. Aranda will love to beat an SEC team, and LSU's motivation's medium. Brian Kelly only 6 for 10 ATS in bowl games. Home, both are under 300 miles away from NRG Stadium, so really no home field advantage, in my opinion. Thursday, January 2nd, Tax Slayer, Gator Bowl, Duke versus Ole Miss. Ole Miss -14.5, total 53. Location, Everbank Stadium in Jacksonville, Florida. Time 7:30 p.m. TV network ESPN. Duke's motivation's medium. They get to play an SEC team, but they lost their quarterback to transfer. Ole Miss's motivation is low. Not a rewarding bowl for a team that should have made the playoffs. Maybe time to party in Jacksonville, Florida. No home field advantage for either Friday, January 3rd, the Serve Pro First Responder Bowl, North Texas versus Texas State. Texas State minus 10, total 68 at Gerald Ford Stadium in Dallas, Texas. Time is 4 o'clock p.m. TV network ESPN. North Texas's motivation's high. They always play close to home and get to beat an in-state rival. And Texas State's motivation's high. They get to beat an in-state rival. So I think both teams will be motivated. Texas North Texas is 46 miles away, but Texas State is only 275 miles away. So I'll give North Texas 1 point here for home field advantage. The Duke's Mayo Bowl, Minnesota versus Virginia Tech, plus 5.5 Virginia Tech, total 42.5. Location is Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina. Times at 7:30 p.m. on ESPN. Minnesota's motivation's high. PJ Fleck is 4-1 ATS in bowl games. He gets his kids up to play, and Virginia Tech's motivation is medium. Very disappointing season for the Hokies, but could end on a good note. Virginia Tech is definitely closer to home, and they get a huge bump for only being 176 miles away, 2.5 points of home field advantage for Virginia Tech. And finally, Saturday, January 4th, the Bahamas Bowl, Buffalo versus Liberty. Liberty minus 2, total 52. Location, Thomas A. Robinson National Stadium in Nassau, Bahamas. This is kind of late for a Bahamas Bowl. Time is at 11 a.m., TV network ESPN2. Buffalo's motivation is medium-low. No reason to care too much in the Bahamas. Pete Lembo is only 0-2 ATS in the bowls. Time to party. Libertyville's motivation, medium-low. Also time to party for Liberty. Jamie Chadwell, only 0-3 ATS in bowls and no home field advantage all the way in the Bahamas. There you have it, my friends. Those are my thoughts on the motivation. I'm going to be kind of updating this as December moves on. I'll have this article out probably by the weekend, so you can kind of just take a look at what your thoughts are on the motivation. I'm thinking Saturday morning we can release this article. And then we're going to have, obviously, bowl breakdowns with some of this info already per game and more of a metric handicap on every single game. We're not going to go too much into detail, but, we're going to go into enough detail and talk about key injuries and opt-outs for every single game in college football. All right, as promised, we're going to talk about the Army-Navy game as well as the Saturday game in the college football bowls. I really think they shouldn't have done a Saturday game because it gives people more time to fill out their bowl brackets and things like that, which is extremely annoying. I'm actually going to be having a bowl survivor challenge that I'm going to be emailing out at the odds breakers here. So I plan on getting that out today or tomorrow. So you should be right on it. And you can do a college football pick'em for bowls or a playoff survivor. We're going to do that with Splash Sports and get that out right away so you could enter. It's going to be very affordable, like $25 or something to get in the Survivor. But I'm just kind of doing this as a test market, see if it works, and give you guys some more fun to make some money here. It's fun to play in these contests, especially when it's sports related, to obviously try to cash in. So here we are, Army-Navy. And what's interesting about this is that not too many injuries. Army did have a few. He had an edge rusher. They had an edge rusher injury, but that was before they smeared Tulane all over the field, and a couple other teams. Army's just a fantastic team, but this spread is absolutely stupid. Plus 6.5, total 49. I meant to say 39. I'm not taking no over here. The undertrend is amazing, but yet the market has really set it pretty low. And these are some of the best offenses that Navy and Army have both had. Now, to be completely honest with you, these teams are pretty close in defensive PPA. 42nd for Navy, 49th for Army. They're both not that great against the run on defense. 106 for Navy, 95th for Army in rushing EPA. If you're looking at rushing yards per attempt, Navy ranks 15th. Army only ranks 53rd on defense, but Army ranks number 6th. They get like 0.4 more yards per rush at 6, and Navy ranks only 75th in giving up rushing yards. But both of these teams, the handicap has nothing to do with these metrics, really. The handicap is the fact that these both are option teams, but the Navy's a little bit different now. They do more of a T formation option this year, so I think that could catch Army off guard a little bit. Now, Army power rating is way better, and I admit I made a massive mistake because I thought Tulane was going to beat Army. I took Navy plus 2.5 at plus 100 for 3 stars, hoping to get back at Pick'em and maybe tease the other way. I like teasing Army-Navy game because you have a very low total. But, man, it just went out bad for me because Army beat the crap out of Tulane. And not just that, this spread went all the way up to 6.5, so I can't do a lot with it. But I am placing another bet on Navy because I think Navy can hang in this game and possibly win. I think this should be a 3-point spread for Army. That's about it. And I see some advantages for Navy. For number one, Blake Horvath, their quarterback, he's going to be back. He was massively banged up against Tulane, only had 5 carries for 25 yards when he usually has 14 or more carries in his game for a lot more yards, Yes, Navy faltered towards the end of the season. The Notre Dame loss killed them, and they lost to Rice, and they beat South Florida by a lot, and then just had that really bad loss to Tulane. But you have to remember, Blake Horvath didn't really play that game. He's going to be playing this game. This is more of an equal teams, in my opinion, You'll see a few gadget plays every once in a while, not that these teams really throw the ball all that much. I think passing attempts per game, Navy ranks 132nd, Army ranks 134th. But I think Army actually has the lesser of the passer, let's say. Their percentage of completions are pretty equal, but passing yards per game does help on Navy at 128 to only 83 for Army. So, if teams have to pass, I give a little edge to Navy. I think Navy could upset them. We're going to go Navy plus the 6.5 for sure for 2 stars just as a personal play. I'm not going to re-give it out to premium at a better number, but I still think that Navy's going to be in this game. And I think there's a chance that they can definitely win it. This is too big of a spread. Lean to the under at 39. Navy plus 6.5 for 2 stars.
How much you want to make a bet I can throw a football over the mountains?
All right, now to take a look at South Alabama against Western Michigan. And South Alabama right now is an 8-point favorite here. And, this is clearly speculation if Gio Lopez plays because it's all over the place. This is the Veterans Bowl, the IS4S Salute to Veterans Bowl and Crampton Bowl, Montgomery, Alabama. First bowl on Saturday night at December 14th. And like I said, I hate the fact that this is coming out so early compared to when these bowls were seeded. But, there's also a FCS bowl that's considered a bowl before that with Jackson State. It's just Major Applewhite's so bad at ATS 0-3, and Gio Lopez, I don't know what's going on with him. But at the same time, stud tight end Blake Bosma from Western Michigan, the most receptions on the team, 37 receptions, 403 yards, 6 touchdowns, is in the transfer portal. Their best edge rusher, Corey Walker's in the transfer portal. South Alabama's got a few of them. Their leading rusher, Fluff Bothwell, is also in the transfer portal. So just not a lot of great things going for either team. I mean, from a power ratings perspective, like I said before, you really got to throw away a lot of your power ratings here. I have South Alabama a lot better of a team if their quarterback is not hurt, right? Western Michigan, I have minus 13 points, and South Alabama is going to be around -3 if their quarterback is in. If their quarterback's out, it's probably around -7. So I mean, that's really what the determination is going to be for me from a metric standpoint. South Alabama is a plus 0.91 net yards per play. Western Michigan minus 0.19. Offensive EPA 6 for South Alabama, 31st for Western Michigan. But South Alabama's schedule is a little bit harder. 101st to 127th for Western Michigan. But from a defensive perspective, it's not even close. South Alabama ranks 51st, and defensive EPA for Western Michigan is 122nd. Western Michigan cannot stop the pass, but they can kind of stop the run. I think that they do a pretty good job running the ball. They rank 21st in offensive rushing EPA for Western Michigan, so that's where they can kind of slow this game down. But right now, if I knew Gio Lopez was in, I'd probably lay the 8.5. But if he's out, then I would take the 8.5. That's why I think this is right in the middle spread. So I wish I had more for you right now. It's just such an important injury here for South Alabama. So we'll have to wait on that one, unfortunately. Now it is time for
The Sharp Side of the Force.
Sharp Side of the Force is brought to you by mybookie.ag. For an up to $1,000 sign-up bonus, please visit this podcast description. Terms, conditions, location apply. All right, as of Wednesday, 12/11, sharp money on the Bengals, -4 to -5 at the Titans, 52% of the tickets and 80% of the money. Sharp money on the Jets, -3 to -3.5 at the Jaguars, 55% of the tickets and 72% of the money. Sharp money on the Chargers, -2.5 to -3, hosting the Bucs, 28% of tickets and 47% of the money. Sharp totals, that's all we have for sides. For now, sharp totals, Cowboys versus Panthers, under 44 to 42.5, 18% of the tickets and 82% of the money. I'm kind of against that one. Dolphins versus Texans, under 49.5 to 47, 21% of the tickets and 69% of the money. And then Bills versus Lions, over 50.5 to 54.5, 65% of the tickets and 72% of the money. All right, time for a recap. We're going to go Saints +7.5, the Jags +3.5, the Denver Broncos -3.5, and the Steelers +5. We're going to tease the Rams and the Bills together, both the +8 for our Refuse to Lose teaser, and we're taking Army +6.5 for this podcast. If you have questions for us, please feel free to tweet us at the Odds Breakers. I hope you enjoyed the show. We're going to have a wonderful bowl season coming up, a lot more information. Enjoy the rest of your week and go get some winners.